Hi, it's Rob from robnonphoto.com with a quick review of ScottKelby's 7-point system for Adobe Photoshop CS3. I wanted to review this book on this rainy afternoon in Gosport because it's really helped me with my technique for using Photoshop. One of the big problems I always have, and have a lot less of now, is trying to decide what you're meant to do in what order when you want to work on your photographs. And what ScottKelby's come up with this book is a system that you can follow for your photographs that will make them look better. Now what's really good about this book, what's really clever about it, is that it's organised into 21 different lessons. And in those 21 lessons, what you're doing is basically repeating the same steps using these techniques, but on different photographs, different examples. All the photographs in the examples, which are in RAW or JPEG format, you can download them from ScottKelby's website. And this method of repetitive learning really helps to engage the reader, I guess the student, in a system that you'll remember and you'll be able to apply time and time again. Now you don't apply all of the 7 points to every single photograph, but it really does. It helps you decide and helps you choose the bits of Photoshop that are going to work for you and work easily, because Photoshop's got hundreds of different options, and this really simplifies the whole process. So, for example, if we look at lesson 1. What he does is he starts off, and you're given a photograph that is really hazy, not much contrast, and really a throwaway image, and you work through the 7 points using lots of different steps. I mean, there's 7 points, but it doesn't mean there's only 7 steps. He really shows you exactly what you've got to do. He doesn't go into details about how the tools work, because you don't need to know that. He just says, if you want to do this, this is how you go about doing it, and you work your way through all the different steps. But the way I do it is I sit there with the book on my lap using Photoshop, and then finally you end up with, he says, the finished product, which is going from that picture to that picture, and then it starts all again with a different image. Now, as I said before, you don't use every single technique in every single lesson, but they get repeated, and Scott also shows you different tips and techniques you can use as you're going through. But I found this repetitive nature means that when I now open up my own images, I really know what I'm going to do and what order I'm going to do in. What happens as well is, in the initial chapters, he goes into great detail about, for example, in this particular section, we're working in Adobe Camera Raw, and he says, right, slide the exposure to this particular number, and then slide the recovery one back to this, and watch out for histogram, etc. But as you go on through the lessons, because he knows that you've picked up a lot of this already, the steps get a lot shorter. So he says, right, what you need to do now is increase contrast, and it's brilliant. I think it's a really good tutorial, a really good guide, a really good course, if you like, to learning Photoshop. Now, I know ScottKelby's delivery doesn't always appeal to everybody, his sense of humour, but I always think it's always best to learn with your smile on your face, and you definitely get that with Scott and what he does. I have to say that I haven't completely finished the book now. I'm up to, where have I got to? Yeah, that's where I've got to, lesson 15, because you get so excited by the techniques you learn that you want to go off and you want to start doing it on your own photographs as well. So yeah, and it's a book you can always come back to and do a refresher. And in fact, the last chapter is a refresher lesson where it gives you a photograph and you work through all the techniques as you're going along. You could argue that there's some bits missing, some steps missing from people's Photoshop technique, but what happens is, when all this stuff becomes second nature, and you're doing stuff, when you come up with questions separate, so you know, how do I do this particular technique, how do I achieve this particular look, that spurs you on to go off to the internet and find out how to, I don't know, use some advanced, what other things do I use, I don't know, maybe using plugins or something like that. But because you've got this backbone of technique which you can apply, that becomes supplementary to what you're doing, and you don't have to think about the basics, because you've used all these lessons, you've worked your way through the book to really become, I think I'm a lot more proficient at Photoshop now. I'm no expert, but I know where to start and I know where I'm going. And the other really cool thing as well that book's helped me with a lot is it helps you to start thinking about, when you've got your initial image, where you want to take it. So trying to pre-visualize, if you like, the finished product you want to get to, and then thinking about which tools you're going to use in Photoshop to achieve that particular effect. It's a softcover book, so it's nice and easy to read. This one's well thumbed now. It's not expensive. I think it's less than £20 on amazon.co.uk. And if, you know, as I said, if there's any book that I would say has really helped me with Photoshop, this has got to be the one. This is the one that's given me my workflow, my technique for dealing with Photoshop. And you know, I'm not saying it's for Photoshop experts, they've probably got their own workflows, but if you're new to Photoshop, or you're a bit confused about where you should be going and what you should be doing, ScottKelby's 7-point system for Adobe Photoshop CO3 is worth its weight in gold and well worth the asking price, so definitely recommended. Okay, so that's I'm Rob from robnunphoto.com. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the blog.